Welcome to the Deep Dive, right here on Tech Talk Central.
Great to be here.
So today, we're looking at two phones that always come up when people talk cameras.
Oh, yeah.
The Google Pixel 9 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra.
Yep.
And if you're trying to figure out, which one might be the best camera phone for you, based purely on the source material we found, this is for you.
Exactly. We've basically gone through product details, customer feedback, mostly from Amazon listings and reviews for this one.
Yeah, trying to cut through the noise a bit.
Right. We want to unpack what these sources actually say about the cameras.
So the plan is, look at the Pixel camera details from the sources, then the S25 Ultra, compare them side by side, and then kind of talk about what that means for you. All based strictly on what we've got in front of us.
Let's do it. Your guides through the info stack.
Okay, Google Pixel 9 Pro first. Reading the material, Google's definitely talking it up. They call it their most powerful pixel camera yet.
And it's built around a triple rear camera system.
Triple rear, right. And the comparison table in the sources gives us the specs.
It does. So you've got a 50 megapixel wide, a 48 megapixel ultra wide, and then another 48 megapixel telephoto lens.
Okay, hold on. 48 megapixels on the ultra wide and the telephoto.
Yeah.
That seems, well, pretty high res for those secondary cameras. What does that usually mean?
Well, more megapixels can mean more detail, especially if you're cropping in later on those ultra-wide or zoomed shots. The sources keep saying most powerful, and those numbers definitely back up that kind of feeling.
Right, so potentially strong detail across all three lenses. What about video? What did the sources mention for the Pixel there?
Video gets some specific callouts, high-quality video, and it mentions up to 20x with super res zoom video.
20x zoom in video.
Yeah, so they're pushing the zoom performance even when you're recording.
And super res zoom video. That sounds like it's using software, probably AI, right, to clean up that zoom.
Exactly. That super res bit is the clue. It suggests processing is doing a lot of heavy lifting to make that 20x actually look decent.
Okay, and wasn't there something else, like 8K?
Oh, yeah, the sources also say it can enhance your videos up to 8K with Video Boost.
Enhance up to 8K. Interesting phrasing. And low light video, too.
Yep, specifically mentions taking sharp videos in low light with night sight video. So zoom, potential 8K enhancement, and a dedicated low light mode for video. Seems pretty comprehensive based on this.
Okay, now shifting to what the camera does with the photos. The AI stuff.
Yeah.
That's always big with Pixel. The sources list specific names like Add Me.
Right, Add Me. That's described as letting you swap the photographer into the picture. The classic Pixel AI magic trick.
So the person taking the picture doesn't get left out. Makes sense. Then there's Best Take,
Best take, yeah. The source says it helps everyone look their best.
which usually means group shots.
Yeah.
Right? Fixing blinking eyes or someone looking away.
That's the strong implication, yeah. Picking the best faces from a burst of shots. And then the big one, Magic Editor.
Magic Editor. What kind of powers does it have, according to the sources?
The description's pretty wide-ranging. Reframe photos, reimagine scenery, suggest the best crop, and expand the scene.
Oh, reimagine scenery and expand the scene. That sounds like generative AI, like creating stuff that wasn't actually there.
It really does. Sounds like a pretty powerful built-in editing suite going beyond just basic tweaks.
Okay, so the Pixel story from these sources. High-res sensors, especially those secondary ones, strong video features like enhanced zoom and low light, plus these specific named AI editing tools. What about manual controls? For people who like that stuff.
The sources do mention that pro-level camera controls like shutter speed and manual focus are available. So it seems like they're trying to cover both bases, the AI point and shoot and the more hands-on photographer.
And how does this all feel in practice? What did the customer feedback say?
Looking at the Amazon reviews we pulled, people seem really happy. Phrases like, excellent camera, amazing camera, someone even called it a souped-up camera.
Yeah, I saw one quote, hard to take a bad picture. That kind of says it all, doesn't it? Like, the hardware and AI are working together really well for everyday users.
And there's that really interesting comparison someone made, saying the pixel quality clearer than the S24 Ultra.
Oh, wow. Comparing it directly to a previous Samsung flagship? That's a bold claim from a user.
Yeah, suggests they saw a real difference in clarity at least.
Okay, so Pixel 9 Pro, based on these sources. High-res secondary cameras, advanced video, very specific AI tools, and really positive user feedback mentioning clarity and ease of use.
That sums up the picture from the source material pretty well.
All right, let's flip over to the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Again, our details are coming from that S25 listings comparison table and related reviews that mention the Ultra or S25 series camera features.
Okay, the S25 Ultra, according to that comparison table, the headline number is definitely the main sensor, a 200 MP wide lens.
200 megapixels. Well, that's way higher than the Pixel's 50 MP wide. What does that actually mean in practice, based on the sources?
Well, a 200 MP sensor could capture just a massive amount of detail. Now, often they use pixel binning combining pixels for better low light or smaller files.
Right.
But having that native resolution available could be huge for cropping way in, or if you wanted to print something really large. It's definitely a big number on the spec sheet.
A clear difference there. Okay, what about the other lenses in that table?
It shows a 50 MP ultra wide, which is actually pretty close to the Pixel's 48 MP,
Okay.
but then a 10 MP telephoto lens.
Only 10 megapixels for the telephoto? That's quite a drop from the Pixel's 48 MP telephoto spec.
It is, and that makes the whole zoom discussion really interesting, because while the spec says 10 MP telephoto, one of the customer reviews for the S25 Ultra specifically says the 100x zoom of the camera is truly amazing.
100x zoom, mentioned by a user as amazing. That's way, way beyond the Pixel's stated 20x super res zoom. This feels like a major point where the sources show a difference.
Absolutely.
So how do we square to that? A 10 MP sensor but a 100x zoom that someone finds amazing?
Well, usually how this works, and what's implied here, is that 100x is probably a mix. You get some optical zoom from that 10 MP lens, but then there's a lot of digital zoom and AI processing layered on top.
So heavy software involvement again.
Exactly. And the fact a customer called it truly amazing suggests Samsung's processing for that extreme zoom is working well, at least for some people, even if the base sensor resolution isn't as high as the Pixel's telephoto.
So maybe less raw detail, it's a 10x zoom compared to the Pixel because of the sensor size difference.
Potentially.
But the Ultra can push much further, hitting that 100x mark with processing, according to that user review. That's a key trade-off these sources highlight.
Yeah, exactly. The S25 Ultra's zoom story from these sources seems to be about achieving incredible reach, likely software-powered, maybe more than native telephoto resolution itself.
Got it. What about AI features mentioned for the S25 Ultra or just the S25 series in general from these sources?
The sources mention an AI camera with audio eraser. It apparently lets you capture vibrant, low-light video and minimize unwanted noises.
Audio razor. That's interesting. Cleaning up the sound in videos using AI? That's different from the Pixel's AI features mentioned.
Yeah, it's a practical video tool tackling background noise, which, could be really useful.
Definitely. Any other AI photo stuff mentioned?
There's also talk of advanced portrait features that adjust skin tones and preserve natural textures. Sounds like AI tuned specifically for making people look good in portraits, keeping things natural.
Okay, so Samsung's AI focus, based on this, seems more on practical video, things like audio, refining portraits, plus that general AI integration, a user called mind-blowing. It's presented less as these distinct, named creative tools like the Pixel has.
That's the feeling you get from the descriptions, yeah. More like underlying enhancement power.
And does the Ultra also offer manual controls like the Pixel?
Yes, a customer review for the Ultra specifically mentions a Pro mode where you can adjust the ISO, etc. So similar story manual controls are there if you want them.
And the overall customer feedback for the S25 Ultra camera in these sources?
Again, really positive. Comments like, amazing camera, takes great pictures and videos, great for the photography I do. High satisfaction, just like the Pixel feedback showed.
And that mind-blowing AI integration comment, plus the 100x zoom, truly amazing one. Those really stand out from the user perspective in the sources.
For sure. So the S25 Ultra picture from these sources, huge main sensor, potentially extreme zoom reach despite the lower res telephoto spec, AI focused on video, audio, and portraits, and strong user satisfaction, especially calling out that zoom.
Okay, great. We've unpacked both based on the sources. Now let's really compare them. Based only on what these sources tell us, how do they stack up for you, the listener?
Well, the most glaring difference right off the bat from the sources is that main sensor. 200 MP on the Ultra versus 50 MP on the Pixel.
Yeah.
If you just want the highest potential detail number on that main camera, maybe for big prints or serious cropping, the Ultra's spec sheet number wins there, based on the sources.
Okay, clear difference on the main wide lens. But then the ultra-wides are close, 50 MP Ultra, 48 MP Pixel. But the telephoto spec is way different. 10 MP Ultra, 48 MP Pixel.
And that's where it gets fascinating, right? Because it contrasts so sharply with the zoom capabilities mentioned. Pixel, 48 MP telephoto, source says up to 20x super res zoom video.
Right.
Ultra 10 MP telephoto. But a customer review raves about an amazing 100x zoom.
So the sources suggest the Pixel might give you more native detail within its zoom range, maybe up to that 20x.
Plausibly, yeah, given the sensor difference.
While the Ultra is all about reach, pushing way further digitally to get that 100x the user liked. So for you, it's about, do you want potentially cleaner, moderate zoom or the ability to see super far away, even if it's heavily processed?
That seems to be the core zoom trade-off presented by these sources. Yeah, it's a really clear distinction.
How about comparing the video features mentioned?
Different focuses again. The Pixel sources highlight 8K with video boost and night sight video, so resolution enhancement and low light modes. Samsung sources mention the AI camera with audio eraser and vibrant videos in low light. Both tackle low light, but Pixel calls out 8K boost and a specific mode, while Samsung adds that unique audio cleanup. Could sway you, depending on how much video audio matters to you.
And the AI photo features, presented quite differently in the sources.
Yeah, Google gives you these named tools. Add Me, Best Take, Magic Editor, with descriptions of what they do.
Like creative functions.
Exactly. Samsung sources talk more broadly. AI integration is mind-blowing. Advanced portrait features, it feels more like underlying processing, especially for portraits and maybe enabling that crazy zoom.
So maybe Google's AI feels more like distinct tools you use, while Samsung's feels more like background power enhancing things automatically based on these descriptions. That could make one feel more intuitive than the other, depending on what you want to do.
Could be. And remember, both sources confirm they have pro modes for manual controls, so enthusiasts aren't left out either way.
Yeah, and bringing it back to the users, it's striking how positive the feedback is for both cameras in the sources we look at. Amazing. Excellent for both.
Totally. The differences are in those specific user highlights. The Pixels mentioned clarity advantage over an older Samsung, and the Ultra user calling out that amazing 100x zoom. Those little anecdotes kind of echo the spec differences.
Okay, so bottom line, what does this all mean for you? Making a choice based just on these sources.
Well, based purely on these Amazon sources, it really seems to boil down to your priorities among these highlighted features. If you just want the biggest number on the main sensor, that 200MP on the Ultra stands out from the source spec.
And if zooming really, really far is your main thing, and that user review about 100x zoom, amazing, sounds like what you want, the S25 Ultra seems positioned by the sources as the one offering that extreme reach.
Right. But on the flip side, if having high native resolution on all the rear cameras matters more, especially that much higher MP count on the telephoto, 48MP versus 10MP for potentially better quality at, say, 10x or 20x zoom.
Then the Pixel spec sheet looks strong there.
Exactly. And if those specific named Google AI tools like Magic Editor, Add Me, Best Take sound genuinely useful for how you edit photos,
then the Pixel's approach to AI might appeal more based on how the sources describe it.
both seem to promise great general photos, both lean heavily on AI according to the sources, and both get thumbs ups from users in these reviews. It feels less like one is just better and more about which set of strengths highlighted by the sources, Ultra's main sensor and extreme zoom reach, or Pixel's sensor balance and specific AI suite fits your needs best.
You know, what's really fascinating here, just looking at these two through the lens of the sources, is how much the camera story isn't just about the hardware anymore.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. I mean, the sources just hammer home how much AI and software processing are driving the experience on both phones. It touches everything: zoom, low light, editing.
It really makes you wonder, based on what these phones are doing, how much does the intelligence of the camera, the software, now matter compared to just the physical lens and sensor specs?
Right. How do you weigh that massive sensor potential against, really clever processing? It's a tough question.
If you want to keep exploring these kinds of tech questions and details, definitely subscribe to our channel, Tech Talk Central.
And hey, if you want to check out the latest prices or find deals on either of these phones, be sure to look at the links down in the description below.